In this lesson, we're going to take a tour of the iTwin.js app UI. We'll talk about all the different components involved in the iTwin app UI, but the first thing we'll talk about is what this video is not about. Now, this video is not about iTwin UI. People tend to confuse iTwin.js app UI with iTwin UI. iTwin UI is its own separate components library that comes with the iTwin platform. It contains a list of different UI components that you can easily add into your applications. These include components such as carousels that you can navigate through, different dialogues, lists, essentially most components that you would find in any modern application. But anyways, this is what we're not going to talk about. We're going to talk about iTwin.js app UI. Now there are 4 different types of components inside the iTwin viewer. There are toolbar items, widgets, status bar items, and front stages. We'll talk about them one by one. We'll start with the toolbar items. Now there are 4 different types of toolbars in the viewer. On the right, we have the view navigation toolbars. There are 2 different toolbars here, the horizontal toolbar and the vertical toolbar. And these contain items for navigating the view itself, such as tools for rotating the view, or panning or moving the view around, or zooming into different parts of the model. Now these are all view navigation tools, and anytime you want to add a tool that navigates the view, you would add them to one of these toolbars. On the left, we have the content viewing or manipulation toolbars. Again, 2 toolbars here. There's the vertical and the horizontal. The horizontal toolbar is currently disabled, but these items have to do with interacting with the content of the view itself. That includes the model, the elements inside the model, and the tools include things for selecting the items inside the model or for finding the distance between any 2 points on the model. Anytime you want to add a tool that interacts with a model, you would add them to one of these toolbars. Next up, we have widgets. Now, widgets are UI items that contain more sophisticated pieces of functionality. Typically, they contain multiple UI items, things such as drop-down lists, buttons, tables, etc. Now, there are 4 different places where you can add widgets in the viewer, and those are the 4 panels that surround the viewer itself. There's a right panel, there is the bottom panel, the left panel, and the top panel. We can add widgets to any of these panels and also move them around as needed. Next up, we have status bar items. Now the status bar at the bottom gives us another place for adding UI items for additional functionality, and these might be items that pertain to the overall application itself. And finally, we have front stages. Now front stages include different combinations of toolbar items, widgets, and status bar items that can be combined together in a single front stage. And the idea is you can have multiple front stages that capture different sets of functionality in the same application through the means of custom UI that relates to that functionality. Now that wraps up our UI tour. Now we have a good idea of the different components inside the viewer, and the next step is to learn how we can add our own custom components. That's what we'll discuss in the upcoming lessons, and we'll start with the concept of UI providers. Let's check that out next.